Hello. How are you doing this morning? Oh, trying. Let's see here. Um, Trying to remove all these note takers. How are you doing? Hey, David.
Good morning.
Trying to remove all of our note takers here because there's like
Thank
1,000
you.
of them.
I know. I appreciate that.
Quite annoying because you can't even tell who's on the call.
Right.
Uh,
When you get a minute, would you send Wes a link to join into this?
Everybody gets the link.
I
Everybody.
understand. I understand. And he probably got it at some point just to put it on at the top of his text or email again. He was going to try to be on. I just want to make it easier for him so he didn't have to go looking for it because I don't think he's ever been on yet. Hi, Fatuma.
Shalom, everyone. How we doing?
Good. You've got an open house coming up.
Yes, praise Yeshua. I have one this Friday and one this Sunday. I'm going to try to do every Friday and Sunday until my children go back to school.
Yeah. That's great. Good for you. That's excellent. You're just sowing seeds into the soil of your real estate business. That's great. There he is.
Hey, Wes.
Oh, look, Wes is on. This is incredible.
Shalom, Wes.
Hey man, your mic's on. I know you are busy today and we're catching you just kind of in between appointments here. I appreciate you getting on today. Wes, do you know how to turn off on your microphone? Tap your screen in the lower left corner should be a thing to release it. There you go. Hey man.
Hey brother. Hi guys. How are you?
Appreciate you
good.
getting
Good
on.
morning, good morning, good morning.
Yeah, I was ready with plan B in case you weren't able to make it. But man, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for coming on today. And we got Fatuma and Janelle. Fatuma's a new agent. You've met her before. She's been to team meetings multiple times. She's
Hey,
got a
Sharon.
open house coming up. We got Sharon Larkin. Hey, Sharon.
Sharon, what's up? Sharon's in the house. Come on.
All right. And then Janelle, you're having a party, and it's on a Sunday. I've got it written down, but I don't have it right here in front of me. What day is that again?
August 2nd.
Great. August 2nd, Sunday from 2 to 4:30. Before Wes gets going here, I just want to encourage everybody to write that down. If there's any way, I know Sundays you could probably with family and everything, but if there's any way you could just pop in and give Janelle some love and show her some encouragement with the people that she's inviting. We're going to do all the same for everybody else. Everybody who is a newer agent, even if you've had it for a few months, you can still have a welcome to the celebration of my new license party. They don't know. They might not know yet. Just schedule it, and we will do the same for you to show up. All right, Wes, take it away, man. I want to catch you while we can.
Okay, so tell me where you guys want me. What do we got covering here today?
Well, Wes, what is the thing that got you initially into real estate, and then what keeps you going into it? How has that morphed and changed? How have you course corrected over the years? I mean, you've been doing this for like what, 50 years?
Yeah, probably. Seems like it.
Yep.
Well, all right. So those of you that don't know me, my name's Wes Slowbaum. I'm here at KW Legacy Partners. So a couple things on it was 1986. I graduated high school in May, and in July my dad sent me to auctioneer school. too. So a couple months afterwards, I went through auctioneer school. So someone asked me the other day at one of the team meetings, I sold my first piece of real, and then 2 weeks after I had my license. Back then, you didn't have to be a real estate agent to sell real estate in Kansas or Missouri. So back then, you could just sell. And so he handed me a microphone and said, here, go sell that house. So that's what I did. So I think I sold my first piece of real estate in 1986.
Nice.
We would have probably had a third generation business. We had 4 generations of our family working in the auction business at one time, but I didn't get clean and sober until 1998. So lost a couple over a decade out there in hardcore drug addiction. By the grace of God, got saved and clean in 1998. And so through that period, the businesses, my dad had to go take a full-time job. We just weren't able to sustain both things. So we kind of lost the auction business that he had created. After getting clean, giving my life to the Lord, back in October of 97, got clean in January of 98. I started my auction company back up in 1998. So I borrowed some money from my brother, and we started a couple different companies. Today it's Official Auctions Inc. right now, but it had went through a couple of different deals, and we were doing everything back then. I'm a government contractor. I've had a master services contract with the city of Kansas City and Mark since 1999, and then went through and I think it was probably 15 years ago. You could say it was probably right. Maybe it was 14 years ago. Kansas changed the license and said, if you're going to sell real estate in the state of Kansas, you must have a real estate license to do that. Missouri may be that way now, I don't know, but at the time I wasn't. So, but I had done enough transactions before I did it. I tested in as a broker. So I tested in both in Kansas and Missouri as a broker and not as an agent, just because I had the experience or whatever the guidelines were that they wanted met. I worked under somebody for a year, and then I'm an associate broker at our office. For those of you who don't know, I don't want the paperwork responsibility, but I had my own place. You know, guys, I'm probably, you're gonna hear some things on here because I really use the KWAI platform a little bit different than probably most people, because I power it on a local, regional, national, and international level. I just got back. Well, let me finish that. So I was actually in a ministry event in Dallas, Texas, and the guy said, so what are you doing? I said, I'm going to join a flag. I need to get a flag. I need to find a flag. And he goes, hey, you should come to KW. And I said, who's KW? I'd heard of them. They were relatively new. It's 15 years ago. And I met Sharon Steer out at this office when it was on Midland. I walked in and signed the documents. The day I signed that documents, the big why for me was the juice. Won't get into that conversation, but that's why I'm here. It was God family business, and I pretty much didn't do anything they asked me to do. So I'm going to tell you a lot of things not to do today, probably as many as what you should do, because I just had my other businesses and never gave the systems never the thought, talk, time, talent, treasure they required. So as a result of that, Brad Korn said something to me in the last training. He said, Wes, there's 3,000 transactions that's happened around you in your network that you have not done. They've happened. I think I've witnessed 4 or 5 this year alone, as we've put in this final piece of launching our command and really plugging into the systems at the level that we should. So, 08, 09 happened. My wife and I had to file bankruptcy in 08, 09. We had big government contracts that went to zero and overnight. So I've been through a bankruptcy in the business. Pretty much lost everything in the recession. COVID almost bankrupted us again because we were doing things a little different. I'm not saying that with you if you're flipping real estate, but we have some development projects and some other stuff. So, just kind of kept our head down, kept our eyes on the prize of Jesus, and kept pushing forward. And I've kind of come back out on the other side. And really, for the first time in my life, I would say I'm getting ready to go 100% into the KW model and command and all of that. I learned something just in these last couple meetings, the trainings of the people that came in. Whether you're going to do open houses or you're going to make the phone calls, and we don't have to do open houses and we don't have to make the phone calls. We get to do an open house and we get to make the phone calls. That was a big one for me. I had to change that one word from have to or must or need to get. I get to make these calls. And that was a mindset shift for me. But when I was sitting in there, and the one, I can't remember the lady's name that came in from Lee Summit, but I've met her before. And she said, I'm not going to do the open houses, so I get to make the phone calls. And I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way, but there is a way. And so that's kind of been my big one here as of late, is understanding, we were in survival mode. Let's be honest, after COVID, if you'd have told me it was going to be 5 years, I'd told you it was crazy. But it was 5 years. And so about 3 months ago, mindset shift, sales is back number one. Guys, in terms of what's happening in this market, in this place, people don't really understand, what $10 billion worth of development does to your real estate market. And that's just in 2 projects. So there's probably going to be closer to $15 or $20 billion worth of development's going to be happening out here between Olathe. We just got a Star Bond project done that we've been working on pre-COVID down around Gardner.
Wes, could you expound on that a little bit more about all that money coming into our area there and what that will mean, how that will impact everyone's business?
Yeah, so what Star Bonds is really not to get too tough, but STAR stands for Sales Tax Occurring Revenue Bonds is what that is. And that just says that if you can create a $50 million project and you have $50 million a year in taxable income, you get about 100% of your investment costs back. So, a lot of you guys are from if you think about kind of what happened along 291 there in Grandview and Lee Summit, that was all farm field, it looks just like 435 does right here in Kansas now. And they developed that really without that level of incentive, probably a third of that incentive. So these companies that are coming in and the new stadiums and the new Mattel and all that, I mean, these projects, everything's designed to bring people to Kansas. It's Star Bonds is actually a tourism tax. So there, 435 and will be developed out over the next 20 years. All this vacant ground you see all over the place, it won't be here anymore. And then K7 will surely be the next one that connects the two together. So the amount of incentives that are coming in. Listen, there's only about 10 states that have Star Bonds or some sort of legislation that represents that kind of incentive. Missouri doesn't have it. Missouri just tried to do a special session and pass something to keep Arrowhead, and they voted against it. So they voted against it illegal, and they didn't have the special session. So those kind of things drive development. And so, we're adding, I think in my neighborhood in Olathe, my wife and I just built, they're adding, 3,000 jobs, maybe more, but these are high level jobs. This is the world headquarters of the Chiefs. I mean, the employees coming through the pipeline it's not like we're just going to building a coffee shop, right? This is community driven and real bandwidth, I think is what I can say. So it's going to be an interesting run. We're looking at projects in Tonganoxie now that, just you would not even have been looking at that before Arrowhead announced. It's 12 miles west of Arrowhead. Those projects today, there's just a lot more eyes on all of it. A lot more eyes on all of it.
So is it safe to say that big money attracts big money?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the incentives,
Okay.
and So just in its purest form, and people, you can watch all the news you want, but in its purest form, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to get 50%, maybe 60% more back in incentives in Kansas than that's allowed in the state of Missouri. So when you think and you're spending $10 billion and you're getting 50% more back, guys, these are just staggering numbers. But it's a tourism tax, and the Chiefs Arrowhead will drive tourism. An example would be, a lot of you guys know the Legends. The Legends was 2,000 acres of farm ground that was, probably $300,000 or $400,000 in sales or property tax a year. Within 10 years, they developed $1.5 billion. They had 12 million visitors a year. I mean, it works, right? It did what everyone said that would never work in the middle of Kansas. And that was in the middle of Kansas City, Kansas. They brought in 6,000 jobs, paying 80,000 there at Cerner. I mean, all those things that they talked about happened, right? Yes.
So more houses being built, more inventory, more people coming in, more people needing houses, more people needing to sell houses, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine absolutely, the amount of construction that's going to be happening. We're looking at this one project for construction workers. We think we can, so they got to stay somewhere, right? There's not enough hotels. I think there's a huge need over the next, Chiefs open up in 31. So they start construction next year, but we got 5 years of thousands of construction workers heading to this area, on top of what's already happening in DeSoto, and which is, it's pretty staggering. So just feel good about where you're at. I think we have the perfect office, perfect location. When we bring people in now, we land them at 87th Street at the Hyatt, feed them Jack Stack there, and our office is right here. And you guys got a nice office. I'm offering our office to contractors, developers. These guys need someplace to land and meet with 10 or 12 companies. Well, these are huge electrical and mechanical and construction companies. So we've been trying to utilize our office space and really started putting that into the conversation. Guys, we're right here. I mean, we're the next exit up for where you're staying at. And they finally opened up a Jack Stack out here. I spent most of my time downtown because everybody wants to eat at Jack Stack. That was the greatest thing that happened up there on 87th Street. But, there's development on K7. It's going to happen quickly, guys. I mean, with it just is. It is.
Thank you.
And I want to tell you there's something too that's probably that I haven't. One of the things is in our auction company, guys, I'm with a group called MarkNet Alliance. You can look them up. It's MarkNet Alliance. There's 80 auction companies nationwide, but we got bidders from 50 states and 140 countries going through our platform. And we're probably running, I don't know, $60 million a month in sales through that side. And nobody even here really knows that. We're getting ready to start bringing that to the table, but we sell 25,000 acres of farm ground a year at auction, and about 3,500 to 3,600 real estate auctions a year. I mean, we know how to sell land and real estate at auction. What isn't happened is we haven't been able to connect the dots to KW and the local brokers. And so we're writing matter of fact, today at 2:00, I'm doing the first run through of our Auction Avenue training and program that we're putting together out of this office. It's going to be open to all the brokers, all the agents. We're hitting the entire MLS but all the trainings will be here at the office, and just showing you ways to make money in that. But we're not only doing big land auctions. I mean, we're not only doing land. We're doing, I just sold a $150,000 house in Grandview at auction. So we do. Here's my biggest thing I would say to you: if you're at Keller Williams, you shouldn't be telling anybody no. I don't care whether they come in with luxury, land, farm, residential. KW commercial.
about the-
Just don't tell
It's
anybody
about
I agree.
to sprinkle.
I agree.
because the bandwidth is there. We just need to plug it into the right pipeline. But just don't tell if you come in and you don't have it, just ask the question to myself, to Chris, to Sharon, to Dave or Pinion, because there's just Chris has been here, Johnson, longer than I have. And so there's just so much bandwidth. I think sometimes we see it and we get overwhelmed. Just nothing should overwhelm you. And KW really is built because, guys, I've been at the commercial houses. My copier payment for my old auction company was more than I pay for my office here. I mean, come on, guys. I'm telling you that, and I want you to know. I think it's important to hear this. I do not travel outside of KW. If I'm in California, I call the local KW office. If I'm in New York, I use the local KW office. I always take pictures and video and meet the people. I plug them into my KW command for referrals. I did it in Rome, Athens, Greece, and Crete. I got contacts, met the people, and plug them into my system.
That's good.
And plug them into my system. But I want to share something because we were on the ship. This stuff is going on. This is important for me to say. I told my wife before we boarded the cruise ship, I said, if we got stuck anywhere in the world, anywhere, I would go to the local KW office and say, hey, my wife and I are here. We missed our boat, whatever it is. And I think that's important to hear that you would be welcomed in. They tried to get me in. I was only there for a couple hours. They were trying to take me to dinner, put me in a hotel room, showing me the market. I mean, that's just who KW is, but that is not that way with most of them. And it really is built. The referrals work. We go to Florida three months out of the year. I've done, half a dozen referrals in Florida, right? I mean, you just do them. It's part of what you have here. So really open your mind up to, and then the other thing is I write off every business trip I make. I mean, I don't know what you guys do or don't do, but I write off those trips that we take. Other than my honeymoon or our anniversary, I didn't work. That's the first time in 20 plus years I haven't wrote my trip off as a business trip. FYI,
technically, Wes, your wife was a closed prospect.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, she got a new house out of the deal. Come on.
There you go. Well, I thank you for sharing that, because I wanted everybody on here, especially the newer agents, to get a bigger vision of what we can do. When you see somebody and they ask you for something, always say yes, and just know in the back of your mind, you're going to figure it out, and you're going to figure it out with the help of your team. There's so much, there's decades of collective experience here at our team. And also, Wes, I wanted to thank you for sharing that, because I wanted people to see how you utilize a bigger vision of what's possible in order to get through the very difficult times. 08, 09, man, I started real estate just on the other end of that, cleaning up, scooping up some foreclosures at great prices. But I couldn't imagine having gone through that and the devastation of that, and then COVID, I felt that powerfully. And then but just I mean that devastated every area of your life, correct? That all that stuff going on, when you get hit in business, it affects every area of your life. And just I wanted, these newer agents, I mean, they've got roadblocks, they've got speed bumps, they've got friction, and how I wanted them to see how you've utilized your ability to see the bigger vision in order to pull you through those times.
Absolutely. And I want to tie it back to this office and you guys individually. So there was this, what's the guy's name, Chris or Sharon, that was at Heartland? Rivers. What's his name? Rivers?
Gene Rivers.
Gene Rivers. So we were at the ALC, I think it was in St. Louis, and we were sitting there, and guys, this office is you running into a different spirit at this office. And he said in that meeting, he said every ALC, every office, and every agent has the opportunity to be legendary. And I've been prophesying legendary over this office since
That was in
meeting.
Kansas City. That was in Kansas City 2 years ago in the fall when we went up to Zona, up there.
Oh,
up
2
north.
years ago. Okay, there you go. So 2 years ago, when he said that to me, and all he was saying was speaking from an ALC level, and you got a great ALC here. You have a group of committed people behind you here, or I guess in front of you here. But when he said that, I just want to speak that over this group, and especially you new guys, because you don't have to wait to become legendary. You become legendary right out of the gate. But it helps when your office is doing the same thing in your ALC. But I really believe what we're about to pull off here, you guys, and you're new. But, Judy Johns walked into this office about a year right after that. I think it was the Christmas dinner or the Christmas or Thanksgiving or something. And she stood up in front of the whole group and she said, you guys might not know this, but this is my legacy. That's why I named it Legacy Partners. She goes, this office was the Johns family legacy. Now things change. We're in business, right? Business is business. And you got to do business in business, and things change and that. But when she stood up and said, this is my legacy, this office is the Johns family legacy. That's why we named it Legacy Partners. I was like, whoa. It just kind of put a new meaning to it for me, and I love the Johns, Judy. She's this thing would not be here if it wasn't for her. And if there's one person in this business that paid their dues and was carrying the whole rock for a while, it was Judy Johns. So grateful for that and sharing that. And those are the kind of things that, you go to a lot of real estate offices, you're not going to hear any of that. Right. It just, that's not who they are. And that's okay. It's just a different model. It's not wrong. I don't think anybody's wrong. It's just different model than what we're doing here. And, Chris had brought up something the other day about re-engaging with the old Dave Jinks stuff. I think that's a great idea. That it ain't just rah, rah, rah. It's setting tone, and it's putting pillars of foundation in underneath us to do what Legendary's about to do, right? We're already doing it. It ain't like we're going to get started and we're thinking about it. I'm telling you, for me, it started 2 years ago with Gene Rivers in that ALC meeting.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that you brought up Judy Johns, and that's her legacy. We all are a part of a collective legacy, and our individual lives, we have individual legacies, but it's so good and encouraging to see how we're a part of a bigger collective legacy as well. And we're the next piece in that. I'm meeting with her grandson today, a great young man. We're looking at doing some business together. But thank you for sharing that, Wes. I feel just an even bigger part of that legacy, and all of us, all of you are a part of that bigger legacy that started way before Judy as well.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's great. Well, Wes, if you were to put yourself in the perspective of a new agent, less than a year, maybe a few months, or still working towards your license, what kind of things would you want to impart to them?
I would say don't do what I did early on when I joined KW, because I have an entrepreneur. My unique ability is lead gen, believe it or not. And I just didn't follow. I just didn't do what they asked me to do. And I'm not saying it was open-minded, closed-minded. There was a whole bunch. Unwillingness, thinking I knew what I knew. But I really did throw a decade away instead of just plugging in and doing the systems and doing what I was. And Brad Korn has been on me for 3 different times over that decade. But whatever he said the last time I heard it, just be open, honest, open-minded, and willing about where you're at, right? Honest, open-minded, and willing about where you're at, and take that. The systems, we're training an education company that happens to be in real estate, right? These trainings are designed and there are no dumb questions, right? A lot of times we'll set through stuff and won't raise our hands because we don't want to ask, but there isn't any really, especially new, raise your hand every time and ask the questions, and the systems are there. Sharon, listen, you guys, with what's going on with Rachel and Sharon and Chris Johnson, what's happened here in the last 2 years is absolutely, to me, it's phenomenal, right? I just want to acknowledge you guys and the job you guys are doing, right? And for you new agents, this thing is 180 degrees different than it was 3 years ago in terms of the way you're coming in, how you're being received, the coaching that Sharon's doing, and Chris is she's just been doing it, and she's going to keep you in line. I called her last night after her question. I've been doing real estate a long time, and I still called her last night. I said, hey, I got this thing. I need to know how to sign it. What am I? And we talked through it and figured out we're going to be a right to show and a transaction broker, and that's fine.
Well, hold on. I want to just point something out here. We can learn, Sharon is wired a certain way. Chris is wired a certain way. Rachel, Chris, Pinion, you, me, we're all wired a little different way. And yet we can learn from one another. And you've been in this business, goodness, for what, 40 plus years?
48, I think it is.
48 years.
Maybe 38, maybe 38, 40 years, man.
And you're
I'm
still
asking
humble.
questions.
You're still humble enough, coachable, and teachable enough to ask Chris, who's only been in it for 33 years. She's got less experience than you, and you're still willing to ask for help, right?
Yeah.
So
sure.
It doesn't matter if you're a wannabe agent, or you're working towards it, or you're a new agent, or you're seasoned. You're never too experienced or old to learn something new. I love that. That's what that's what Chris Pinion and I want to be to have that as a part of our culture. One of the defining characteristics of who we are at Keller Williams Legacy. Go ahead, Wes. What else?
Well, that on that deal there, guys, some of this stuff this was so far removed from me. A guy called me off of just like on that deal, right? I never told him no. He asked me to look at something in Key West for him. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm sure we got it. So I picked up the phone, and we didn't do the deal in Key West. I think he's got someone else do it. But I get a 1031. He's selling a house in Key West, Florida, and moving the money up there. So I'm picking off a 1031 deal off of him with that. And he had 30 acres of ground in Johnson County. He goes, I think I'm going to donate it to the park. I said, what if I can get you 130,000 an acre? He said, I'd probably sell it. I was like, well, let's see. Okay, how are we going to do this? And so don't represent him, not putting a listing up. I'm not putting an exclusive. I'm not putting a sign in the yard, but I do have guys coming to town next month that if it meets their deal, they'll buy it. They'll on point. So that's what I say. Don't tell anybody no. And it just came off a call off of a sign over at Gary Rogers' property in Lenexa. And so, yeah, I would say, and the other thing is, get the deal, get through the process. I learned more by going through the process and closing deals and doing the I overtrained. And between me and you, I'll be honest, I sat through way more trainings than I should have. I did too many. I shouldn't have done quite as many trainings, and should have just gotten the game and pushed that effort. So that'd be something I would suggest, is that get out there, get in the game, and start writing deals. You'll learn it as you go through it. 3-4 times through the contracts from beginning to end, from listing through closing through compliance. After 3 or 4 of those, you get pretty clear. And I'll be honest with you guys, just to let you know that I always had a transaction coordinator, and then lost her, and I quickly realized there were some holes in my process without her, right? So we had to go back and really, Sharon and Rachel will tell you, I had to go back and say, no, okay, well, hold on here. We have to clean this up and make sure this is tab A before I send it to them. It's just stuff that was done by my transaction coordinator I didn't know needed to be done. So just be able to be teachable. That's probably the big one.
That's
Just
great.
be teachable.
That's awesome. Fatuma has a question.
Yep.
Thank you for pouring into us. I appreciate you. My question to you is, what is the difference between the world of real estate, as in residential, and the world of auctions? Because it's like when you mention auctions, I think about the people who talk really, really, really fast, and it is like another language. And I like, what difference is it? I know like it's really fast and you can't really understand them, but how is that related to like me as a real estate agent? Like, how does that connect?
Okay. Well, yeah. So, a good auctioneer's favorite filler word is million. I'm at a million now, 2, but I go 3, 4, now 5, but I go 5, 6, 7, 8, but I go 9, 10 million, now 11, I go 11, 12, but I go 12, 13 million, but I go 13. Sold. Fatuma just bought it, $13 million.
Congratulations, Fatuma.
Let me just
So,
say amen on that one first, and then you can keep going.
yeah, absolutely. So the interesting thing is that everything was live auctions. Everything was, for us, was live auctions. I've been doing live, and I did simulcast auctions, which means we had online bidding. When COVID hit, all of our auctions are online only now. I don't do any live auctions anymore. COVID kind of shut all that down. Some guys are firing back up. We're not. We believe the platform is better. So really, it's all online. And at this, we're getting ready to write down Auction Avenue, because you guys will be the first ones into the first training. But we're actually going to come in and I'm going to do a live auction, and then we're going to do a real online auction for a piece of real estate. We're going to show you guys how to register. We're going to show you how to do broker participation pages and get paid. In the auction, the biggest difference is the front end part of the process. In an auction, it's as is non-contingent contract. You do all your inspections and everything are done prior to contract, and then you close. In a traditional deal, you sign the contract and you put non-refundable money down to make that work. In a traditional contract, it is a contingent contract with an escrow payment, which is completely different. And then once you get into contract, Fatuma, then you start your inspection period and you do all that. And if you get through, you go to close. So there's certain properties, I do probate work. We've done U.S. Marshals work, KCPD work. And so certain properties are a good auction property. So what we're going to try to do, we had 22 brokers come through at that last auction in Grandview. I had one register and he bought it. But the others, they don't understand the process. And so once you get to the contract itself, the contract to close and compliance is exactly the same as a traditional listing. It's the front end part that is different. And so we're really looking at telling our sellers, you got to spend $450 and get a pre-auction pre-listing inspection as part of the supplements. And so that's kind of what we've been diving into with this Auction Avenue training is, okay, how do we make it as seamless as possible for everyone? My job as the auctioneer is to get as many people bidding into the pool as I can. The more bidders you have, the better the auction does. And so there is some fundamental differences. One's an escrow payment, and I think most agents stay away from it because they don't understand it. And so we're really looking at how to connect the dots that exist between traditional real estate and auction real estate. One of the things you guys should understand is when you get east of the Mississippi, a majority, I'd say probably 40% more auction real estate sells at auction east of the Mississippi. It's because those states have auction commissions and appointed auction commissioners, and they have continuing education, and they're licensed just like an agent is. But when you get to Missouri, I pay $50 up once a year, and I got a license from the state, and the state of Kansas has no auctioneer license. Well, so when the banks and when people are looking at it, they don't see it the same. It's the same process, really, with some different. It's the same process with different avenues to get to the end goal. But when you're east of the Mississippi, just understand that they have a commission, just like the real estate does. They have a commissioner. They have continuing education that they have to go to. So they're more parallel than they are. Once you get to Missouri, it kind of becomes wild west, right? It's a little bit different.
And
Thank you.
go ahead.
No, I wanted
So,
to just
well-
say thank you.
You're welcome.
Great-
Hey, and one other
great
thing
question.
on the write-offs, just so you know, when I formed my brokerage, I did an S corporation. My sister, my brother-in-law, pretty successful. Bob, it was Bob's wife, Pat, helped me set up my auction company, Chris Pinion. So Patty and Bob sat down and they said, okay, if you're going to start this auction company, we think you should do an S corporation. So I've always had my brokerage outside of me personally as an S corporation and run it that way. And that's why I write off my trips. So let me be clear on that. You may have to establish a corporation to write your trips off. I don't know what it is in a sole proprietor, because I've never been one. We always had a corporation around us. So
But
I figured I should say that.
you can still write off trips, but you touched on a great subject of S corps versus LLCs versus sole proprietorships, and you can Google some of that. We won't get into that here, but typically with an S corp, that's going to be beneficial to you. It's got a lot of great tax benefits to it, but only if you're earning a certain amount a year from that business itself. Most people stick with an LLC. And you can still write things off. It just doesn't have as many tax benefits as an S corp would be. But again, you've got to be at a certain threshold income wise for that S corp to be a good choice for you. And getting into an LLC or an S corp, it protects your personal liability. For if something goes sideways and somebody takes you to court or something.
Well, and just a caveat, and I know that David would say this, and Wes, always check with your CPA, because we are not CPAs.
Yep.
Always check with
Right.
your CPA and your business attorney. Do not take the advice of anything that we say regarding taxes or S corp or whatever. You need a business attorney and you need a good CPA. And if you don't have one, ask anybody that's in leadership on this call.
Correct. Aaron, you got a question?
And
Aaron, Wes, you wanted to say something about that, and then Aaron's got a question.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, what Chris just said is always ask your tax person. But just to put it in, Wes, like I used to be an S corp at once. My tax guy, when the tax laws change, don't get nailed down to whatever. Just FYI, I've been a C corp and S corp and LLCs and sole proprietor. So I've done them all, and they change depending on the tax code. Just keep that in your mind when you're talking to whoever you're talking to tax wise. That's all I want to say.
Agreed.
Wes, did you have anything else to say about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, quick conversation with Dan to get a lot of my guys. I start them there, just because we've got guys, and the goal is, man, if you can get this stuff set up right, because your goal is to, become a millionaire. That's why you read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, right? There's this end goal here, and one of the things is that I personally did not honor my back end financials first couple decades of it's just from where I come from and the way I did business and stuff. But don't do that. Today I have fully reconciled documents all across all businesses, ministries, credit cards, and personal. We're reconciled every 24 to 48 hours. That's the first time in my entire real estate career that I am that. Don't do that. Do it right out of the gate, because the profit is in the details. And in real estate, detail, you're just moving, right? I mean, we were working all weekend again last weekend, or the weekend before. We were working last weekend. We took one of our clients to Vegas and moved them from Kansas. But I want you to know something. I want to share this with you guys, because this is KW at its best. So I met this guy at a church event 28 years ago, I think, Joe Lino. He's clean. He's been sober 30 years. So we had the 12-step recovery stuff together and became friends. But, we developed two parcels and helped him develop and sell downtown Shawnee. We did two, sold them. One got hit in the 08-09 crisis and it shut him down. I sold two condos for him that he had done down there, and then I represented him on a new build over in Shawnee on about an $800,000 deal, and I've got it relisted again at 875. But he came to me 3 days and said, "Hey, I got to move to Vegas on Thursday." I'm like, "What?" And so I called her. My wife says I didn't ask her, so I'm still figuring that one out. But so I cleared my schedule and we did a 21-hour drive and drove to Vegas with his car, his U-Haul trailer full of stuff, and dropped him off at a new condo on the plaza. But I started reflecting back that we did development, new build, residential, condo, and we probably sold for him somewhere 3 to 4 million, maybe north of 4 million. But when we get this sold, we'll probably be north of 4 million, three and a half, something like that. Wow. But that's KW. I mean, I did the whole trip and I said, "This is KW right here, man. This is full service, baby." I was tired when I got home. Full service.
I bet. Well, Wes, so for a typical agent who does residential things, they have a client and they want to sell a home or a property, or they want to buy a home or a property. In what instances would an auction be a potentially smart move for them?
So a lot of it depends. So when you if it's a one of a kind unique property, we should look at it, because one of a kind unique property, if you can get multiple bidders in the pool, they'll pay more than what you'll list it for. If it's
Right.
If it's a subdivision property and they're all the same and they're cookie cutter, that's probably not an auction property for you. Now, if probate's involved and probate says this has to be sold by this date at this time, a lot of times the auctions are driven by time, not by amount. So probate's requiring this property to be off the books by August 15th. Well, you can do that with an auction, but you can't do that in traditional, right? Because traditional, you may or may not sell it. So time is one. I'm not in the personal property auction business, but I've seemed to be doing a lot of personal property auctions. That's not my goal. I'm doing it strictly to honor my customers. But a lot of times people, guys, we had the worst one I'd ever did in Lenexa. We just sold it off. I mean, we had, 18 dumpsters and 40 ton of scrap. And, if we pulled that off, and we had 7 auctions over a year, and for total, they ran about $900,000. Right. So, but, you just know if there was one auction I should have walked on, that one was it. But it was a family friend. I mean, it was a friend of mine, my sponsor in NA. It was his father-in-law. And, but what we pulled off there, guys, I just tell you, there's nothing you can throw at me that we can't look at and say, now, whether we should do it or not, that's another deal. But usually it's time driven. If it's a unique property, I mean, I just looked at a deal down south on our MarkNet platform, guys. It's an 18,000 square foot ranch on, like 60 pristine acres. This is a multi-million-dollar transaction. They took it to auction. Right? They took it to auction.
Wow. Wow. So a lot of people think I had a property in Kentucky years ago that I had a hard time selling. It was in a unique spot, beautiful place, but I couldn't sell it. I was having a hard trouble selling it in the typical market, right? And then we just opted, to do it by auction. and we actually did better than we thought. Our impression was, gosh, we're going to take a hit on this. We're not going to get as much as we could if we were to sell it on the open market, but it's not selling. But so what? Because a lot of people think if you're auction, you're just kind of giving it away. But there's a minimum level that you can set the price at. Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. So
what's that, a reserve? Is
yes.
that what it's called?
Yeah. So a couple things. Kentucky, we have three affiliates in Kentucky. Ford Brothers. I don't remember what the other two. We have three Ford Brothers, huge companies. These are part of our affiliate network. So if I had an auction, or if we had an auction in Kentucky, I would refer it to him, just like if we had a listing in Kentucky, I would refer it to our KW group down there, right? Yeah. So and they have a commission, and they're, you know, you go to continuing ed, so it's a little bit different. But that's a good example of that. So the deal is when you set when you take it in and you put a number on it and you take it to a listing auction, you're kind of setting the cap. In an auction, many times, if the property is what it is, the market will tell you that the cap is higher than that. So in a traditional listing, you go in and you look at your RPR report and it says 366, and so you list the house at 369.9, and you try to sell, and you go sell it. Well, if it's a unique property, a lot of times that if you had 2 or 3 bidders, that thing might bring, and you can get into a multiple offer situation with the traditional. Don't hear me say that you can't do that, but the auction produces that. That's why the auction, it really produces the market. And so there's 3 types of auctions that you have. One is what's called an absolute auction. A lot of times when you're doing government work, they're absolute. They don't care what the price is. They just need the thing sold. And so usually you'll always have more bidders because they know there's no reserve. There's nothing on it. It's just an absolute auction. So people know they can go do their due diligence. They got to do their inspections. And then when they come and bid. So normally you have more bidders. Quite often that will bring more money, but there's a lot more risk to the seller. The second type is what we call published minimum reserve. And that is an auction where the one I just did this is a great example. The one I just did in Grandview, I couldn't get the RPR on it was 169 or 179.9, something like that. And so in my mind, 150 was a good number, but it was just a little too much work. We had 20 showings. There was a little too much work for the retail buyer. So there was just enough. The retail person would not buy it because of the amount of work. But my seller was retiring, didn't want to do any work. The minimum published should have been 130,000, and we'd have had multiple bidders. We missed it by about 20K. So that's called a published minimum reserve. That is a fine line. And Chris Johnson can tell you, we had the same thing happen to us on a big lake property, a $1.5 million transaction. We should have been 1.3, but he wouldn't sign at 1.3. So you're navigating through the seller's conversation. He said, it would take 1.5 for me to walk. It was just too high, but we hit it. And then the third type is what's called sold subject to owner confirmation. And that's what most people use because it says no matter what the price is, the seller has 24 hours to approve or disapprove. So when you have probate people, or if you have administrators through probate, or an individual, right, they're willing to take a shot at it, and whether it brings 130 or 180, it doesn't really matter. They have 24 hours. It's called sold subject to owner confirmation. And anytime you have a government entity property, they're gonna require that, because somebody if let's say you're selling a piece of property for the city of Kansas City, someone at that, either director of real estate or someone has to say yes or no before we can execute. So usually there's a 24-hour period of yes or no.
That's great. So for the typical agent, just to know that this is an option, that this is available to you for your buyers or sellers, for your clients, this makes you this much better than most of the realtors out there. You have just increased the value that you can provide to people, and that's massive. You know, put this on Facebook, let people know, hey, sometimes auctions are a great option for you. Let me know and we can discuss that and see if it is, right? And you're just throwing out more value. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things is the reason that people have in their mind auctions usually bring less money. It's because the market you're in. Okay, it's because the market you're in. You're in a market that doesn't require license, it doesn't have a commission, and so there is, you know, there probably is that stigma around it. But like in South Africa, they about 95% of every piece of real estate sold in South Africa is auction. Most people don't know that, but there's a lot of countries where you don't have, like in the Middle East, there's no such thing as exclusivity. They don't even, that doesn't exist in any country in the Middle East. They're selling millions of dollars worth of stuff, and how they do it, I don't know. But KW has been opening offices over there, bringing this model in, but exclusivity real estate doesn't exist in a lot of countries, right? They just don't have it. I mean, you can sell and buy and sell something, but there's no exclusive.
Wow.
So a lot of them use the auction platform.
Yeah. Fatuma, what you got?
I want to know, what will I see in a when I meet somebody? What would I see that would cause me to say, I think that maybe you should consider an auction?
If it's a unique property, if you walk into a neighborhood and there's something, let's say like in Grandview there, you got all those little 2-bedroom, 1-bath or 3-bedroom, 1-bath, but then all of a sudden on the corner, you've got this huge old historic colonial home, right? That colonial home might bring a whole lot more money at auction because it's just unique to that neighborhood. So that's one. Two, timing, right? A lot of people, it's a timing issue. And if you've got a hard stop, you can't really hard stop a traditional listing. You can't. I mean, you can do all your best marketing you want, and you can put it on the market. You may or may not sell it, but so timing is usually would be one, and then the entity. A lot of times, if it's held by a trust or if it's a government property, or they say, "Hey, I got this," so those things sometimes dictate just going to auction and getting it done. They haven't want it to what they consider fair market. Which is auction's probably the purest form of fair market because it's bringing real time. Now, you got to get the bidders there. And I'm telling you, we are so close here with KW because I've identified in the last 3 sales. I want you guys, the guys on here to know. I mean, we registered the buyer's agents that bought at our last 3 auctions. Because they just don't know it. They look at the supplements, they don't understand. It's just a 1-page deal to make 3% compensation. But I literally got on and I helped them. We signed them up.
Great. Well, Wes, thank you so much. All of this was so beneficial, just to give us a great overview and some detail about the stuff going on. Thank you for helping, basically giving everybody extra value that we can give our clients. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. And when we get there, I mean, you guys are the test subjects for auction. So you guys are actually going to be test subjects, but we really think we've dialed this thing in. And as I shared with the ALC, I think this is going to start here at this. There's just so much money being left on the table, right? I mean, and it's all there. Like Brad Korn says, listen, these things are happening. We just, whether we participate in them or not, it's our choice, but they are happening. But I really believe it'll go regional, national, and international because we're just connecting dots within the KW platform for the agents. Yeah.
Wes, thank you so much, man. I'm excited about your vision, your leadership in the Market Center, bro. So thank you for taking the time today. I know you've got a lot going on, and
yeah, man.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all for jumping on here today. Great seeing everybody. Love y'all.
Hey, don't forget to remind everybody we have team meeting coming up this week, which is going to be really good. We're going to talk about culture. And then on the 4th, we still have a CE class coming up. It's a elective for Kansas and Missouri. It's free, but you have to get signed up. If you don't know how to do that, contact Rachel or go onto our website. It'll be on new construction, so it'll be really good.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris, for making that happen in our Market Center there. All right, guys.
Okay, when was that date? Is that August 4th? So
August
you said,
4th.
Yes, August 4th.
Right after
August
Tuesday.
4th.
Cool.
Rachel, you might reach out to Nick, and I probably ought to clarify through Chris Johnson, but he's just been waiting to get past that August 1st date so he can go ahead and get his license for Missouri, and he'd probably be ready to start taking that stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crush it,
Thank you.
guys. Go crush it.
Bye, guys.
Thank you
Happy
so much.
Thursday.
Shalom.
Hey,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
I'm getting ready to call you.
Okay. All right. Bye, guys.